All right, let's go. We got a big day tomorrow, massive day, probably the most exciting day of training camp. I'm not just saying that. This joint practice, I think, is going to tell a lot. I think it's going to decide a lot. I think there's a lot of pressure on a lot of guys. And the two best words in training camp are joint practice. Carolina Panthers going to be in town. It is the locker room, number one source for Texans digital content. Nick Caley. I asked Nick Caley about calling a game in the booth versus on the field. It seems like there's still a possibility of each. We'll hear what Nick Caley had to say in a sec. But first, let's kind of go through what we observed from the walkthrough obs, if you will, before we get into the, I call this the calm before the storm. Anything that stuck out in walkthrough was honestly kind of a little bit blah. There wasn't a ton of stuff that was happening. It wasn't a full practice. Now, Irv Smith was a full participant. Seemed like he was running pretty well. So people wondering if Irv Smith could be a guy to replace Brevin Jordan. Seems like right as soon as Brevin Jordan went down, Irv Smith was ready to go. Cam Robinson is in a jersey. He's not necessarily moving around. He's not doing any of the drills. He's kind of standing to the side, but he's like acting out the drills. So it's not like he's not moving at all. Titus Howard was in a jersey. He was with the first team. MJ Stewart is your starting safety, as we expected. And Dylan Horton was a participant. And CJ Stroud was on the first team the whole time, although there does seem to be kind of an emphasis on shoulder exercises for him between reps, to the point where he had someone kind of walking with him and kind of moving around the shoulder a little bit, which wasn't like he missed any reps, but it was definitely happening for sure. I want to ask this question for tomorrow because I think it's a question that I think is a yes for some, and for others it's a no. But the question I have tomorrow as the Carolina Panthers come to town is, what's the value of a good performance tomorrow? In other words, is there any guy who, if he has a really good performance, it could help him, whether it be making the team, whether it be maybe gaining the coach's trust? What is the value of that? Because the reality is, the reason why these joint practices are so much more valuable than preseason games is because for some reason there's like a sense of pride. Whenever another team is coming onto your practice turf and they crank it up, like it's ones on ones, it's twos versus twos, it's threes versus threes, and we always see fights in those practices. But who benefits the most? What guy benefits the most from a good performance? I think the obvious one is Blake Fischer, who we've talked a lot about. Blake Fischer. What will Blake Fischer look like tomorrow? Because he's looked completely lost this camp. It hasn't been a good camp for Blake Fischer. And if he goes out there and looks like he has against his own team and in the preseason, I just don't. I think the guy's on the team, but it's getting harder and harder to watch, quite frankly. And the difference between Blake Fischer struggling and some of the other guys is, I mean, he only plays one position. There's a couple of offensive linemen on this team that only play one position, and he's one of the few. So we'll be watching real closely when it comes to Blake Fischer. I think John Mechie has a little bit of momentum. I see Mechie in the chat. I actually have a video dropping tomorrow from last night's stream, just a short about John Mechie. there has been some momentum. I do feel bad that Derek Stingley basically got headline porn. I saw like one of those, like, I don't know if it's AI or whatever it is. Like some of these like Sports Illustrated Sporting News have like basically AI, and it said like John Mechie, schools and all pro corner and one-on-ones. It's like, dude, it was one-on-ones. And it wasn't that crazy. But the clip went up and Derek Stingley all of a sudden is making the rounds as a result of that. Kind of weird, but just kind of thing. Because we were actually right there. Like me and Stutz were actually right. We could have like walked 10 feet and been, because we were in the media section where the Stingley and Mechie was. And it was good competition. But I'm more of a watcher than a recorder. Everybody's recording. It's going to be up. I think paying attention is more important to what goes on in practice. But Mechie is one of those guys. I think Juice Scruggs is one of those guys. I do wonder, are we going to see Damen Pierce and Christian Harris? I think that would be a massive step. We've seen them in team now. Do we get to see Damen Pierce and Christian Harris against the Carolina Panthers? There would be some strong value in that. And then there's some guys where if they perform bad, it really doesn't mean anything. I would say over half the roster. I mean, at this point, I don't know how many y'all think are complete on the 53, like who are locks, but if they go out there and have a bad day, okay, well, maybe film session is going to be a little bit tougher, but not the end of the world. Like if CJ goes out there and looks bad, he's still going to be the starting quarterback. There's not much of a consequence. The stakes are higher for different guys, but that's really what I want to see. I don't anticipate Cam Robinson practicing tomorrow. I would not bet on that. I wouldn't think Dylan Horton, but don't know. I think Pierce and Harris, there's a decent chance that we see those guys in live action against a non-Texans team. I want to get into an exercise, but first let's hear from Nick Caley. I asked Nick Caley about the pros and cons of calling the game from the booth versus the field and if he was leaning either way, and this is what the OC for the Texans had to say.
You're going to call the game from the sidelines after the booth, game one.
Yep.
Are you leaning either way? What are the pros and cons to each style?
Yeah, well, I've done both. As a position coach, as a non-coordinator, obviously, the last 8 I've been on the field. So starting back, when I was coaching on defense, most of my time was probably split. But I think this is the time to do it. I think there's advantages, to both, and I think this is the time to, to experiment and get a flow for it, and the communication through the staff and everything else. So I'm going to do it this week and make an assessment after that. I'm comfortable in either situation. Just want to see what works best for us.
Are you leaning either way?
I'm going into it with an open mind, and I'm going to see how this week goes.
All right, so he says he's leaning into it with an open mind. I mean it's a big decision. Like he's got to be as comfortable as possible. Like whatever works for him, he has to make that decision. 100%. We know how important Nick Caley is. Some will simplify it and say, "Well, I don't care where he calls the game. He's just got to call a good game." Yeah, no shit. Like, yeah, that's obvious. But how his comfort level is and where he can more effectively call a game, he's got to figure out. Because, yeah, he's been on the field the last 8 years. He hasn't been calling plays. And if you watch Nick Caley in practice, and this was an astute observation from Cody Stutz, no pun intended, he has a lot of crap in his hands. And I'm sure it's more crap in his hands than he's had the last 8 years when he wasn't an offensive coordinator. So those 8 years, they set him up to where he does this. And he has guys who he trusts on the field. So I don't think it's cut and dry. I don't think based on what he said, you can necessarily tell which way he's leaning. I don't have a preference. We have good examples of each, but it's a hell of an important decision for Nick Caley. And one of the more important ones. Aaron Wilson came into the press conference. He was out in the hall they were doing one-on-ones, and then people were having to go in and out for the press conference. It was kind of like it was a wild scene today. So he came in, he asked the exact same question, but I thought he got some good stuff. I think Nick Caley kind of expanded a little bit on the booth, and then DJ Bieniemy asked another pretty good question as well. So here was some more from Caley on calling the game upstairs or calling the game on the field.
A couple different things. I think in the booth, it's there's a little bit more peace and serenity. I get to lay out some stuff. I got some room to write, some things down. And obviously get a bird's eye view.
Too, as we said,
we have great, communication on the headsets. I thought that went well with the staff. So I have all the faith in the world of everybody that's on the headset. When you talk about what's the advantage of being down, I've been down, basically the vast majority of my career in the National Football League. So seeing it from that perspective is, I would say that's what I'm, most recently been used to. But you also get to engage and see guys and look them in the eyes and get an opportunity to reset things and talk and communicate and get that, one-on-one communication with them. So I think there are two different perspectives. Both, are good. So we're going to see how it goes, and this is the time to do it.
DJ Bieniemy is asking about the view of ESPN on this.
I mean, just, again, you're seeing everything from top down in the booth. On the sideline, I will back up a little bit and try to stay behind some things, obviously. And then you rely on, obviously, using, tips and tells and how you see coverages live, front structures, but then you go back and you obviously are always using the pictures and stuff that we have access to too. So.
All right. So
yeah, thank you guys. Have a good day.
There you go. And that was the end of that. So that's one decision he's got to make. It's big. It's a big one. It's a big one. Your work environment, your workspace, when you're doing something so high pressure, it's very important. Communication's important. You got to be able to find a way to communicate if you're going to be in the booth, even though you might have better eyes. And the whole process is something that he's got to figure out. He's never experienced it. Other decisions he's got to make. He's got to figure out the running back situation. He's got to figure out the wide receiver situation. Offensive line, I think, is pretty much set. I'm not sitting here saying it's great. The offensive line is pretty much set. They've decided what they think their starting offensive line is. At least at this point. There's two possibilities. Either Cam Robinson is immediately goes back to left tackle when they put Ariante Ursary at right tackle, or Cam Robinson's your backup left tackle, Ursary's first string, Titus Howard's starting right tackle. They know what they're doing. I mean, they know what they're doing there. They have a pretty good idea of that. They had the one that they liked, and then they're getting a look at this. These are their two options as Cam Robinson gets healthy. So they made that choice. The wide receiver thing we've talked about. Think they're going to keep 7? Is it out of the 3? Which 2 are you taking? Are you taking Mechie, Berrios, or Watson? 2 out of those 3. Mechie, Berrios, Watson. That appears to be the 3 that you're deciding on there. You got to figure that out. The running back thing, I don't know. Like, is Joe Mixon going to be ready to go or not? I started to just kind of wonder things. We haven't heard anything. We can't trust people who report injuries. So the Mixon thing, I don't know. First it wasn't serious, then it is, then it, there's all this peacocking going on with the injury report. And that just kind of is what it is when it comes to Mixon. They're not saying anything about it. But what running back do they keep? Who are they going to keep? I think, are they going 4? Are they going 5? Like if Mixon starts out on PUP or something like that, then you're probably going to keep 4 of these guys. Maybe 5 if you count British Brooks. Doesn't, then what do you do? Because the one thing I will say, we talk about Nick Chubb and Damen Pierce and all that. We'll see how Damen Pierce looks. But I think they would have a hard time, quite frankly, saying goodbye to Dare Gumbawale instead of Nick Chubb. And this was another money quote that we dug up today This is Frank Ross. This is the question from Cody Stewart. You can hear with me Monday through Friday at 4 o'clock, including tomorrow after the scrimmage. But listen to Frank Ross talk about Dare Ogunbowale. We've heard D'Amico. Does this seem like a guy that they're going to cut?
Dare Ogunbowale for a few years now on special teams. How much of what he does has been taught and learned through experience, and how much of it's just innate prowess to be a good special team?
Yeah, I think the second part is for anybody to be good, you're going to have some of that. You're going to have want to do the dirty work or the things that don't, quote unquote, get you the glory. But it's helped him stick around for 9 years in the league, whatever it is. And if you watch the Tampa Bay tape, he was making those same knifing tackles on kickoff that he's making for us in the past few years and going to make for us this year. So there is an element of just wanting to and putting real time into a special teams fundamental or technique, and then stacking those with experience. Like that's the only and that's why he's one of the best special teams running backs in the league. So very fortunate to learn from him. Very fortunate that he's here picking up that same role. And to me, I think he's become a hell of an offensive player. That's just from my special teams point of view, because he's stuck around long enough to practice offense more and more and get reps. And then watch last year, he's a third down, like he's done a great job. Everybody should have that mindset, but it starts with the want to.
I think that's an interesting observation and an interesting explanation of you get all this practice time against NFL teams. Chances are you're going against the best if you're the scout team running back, and then you just develop and get better and better. And that could be what happens with Dare Ogunbowale. But I will say this, and I think in the spirit of fairness and reality, you got to say this, like Dare Ogunbowale hanging around has a lot to do with him. And I maintain that he has maximized his God-given ability, but it also has as much to do about the Texans' inability to really add very many dynamic options at the running back position. I don't think he makes all the rosters in the league. I think their mishandling of running back has a lot to do, is at least an assist. It's at least a co-star in the survival of Dare Ogunbowale. His skills for sure, but they haven't done that great of a job when it comes to the running back situation and position. It'll be interesting to see what Nick Chubb looks like tomorrow against the Carolina Panthers. Is it fair? I don't know. There's like a bunch of rules on Nick Chubb. Are you allowed to like evaluate how he looks against another team? Does that matter? Or are we just wait until game time? Except last year, half the season of game time. Like, where are we going with this Chubb thing? Pause. Where are we going? Can tomorrow count? I'm gonna have to ask Vandy about that. HDAV Traveler on the soup. Appreciate you, mi amigo.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Yeah. And Woody Marks isn't going anywhere, so he's on the team. But those are the decisions of Nick Caley. And then you have the Jakob Johnson one that we've talked about, but really just the back end skill guys. That's where it's going to be the toughest for him to evaluate. So I was watching practice with Cody Stutes, Jonathan Alexander, and Sam Warren. And I started playing a game that, I'm not trolling Vandy. I'm just having some fun. That's my boy. Quit being such a wuss, Jay Hoover. Get over yourself. But I started playing a game, and it was called the Could He Hold It Down exercise. And my motivation for this question was MJ Stewart. MJ Stewart is clearly someone that they trust. And he's somebody that a lot of people kind of just wonder, okay, can this guy really hold up in meaningful games? And even when he has, it doesn't feel like the greatest experience, and there's a lot of nerves. But my question was, if CJ Gardner-Johnson's not ready, could MJ Stewart hold it down for a few weeks? And it was a unanimous yes. Yes, he can definitely hold it down. There's enough talent around the defense. And he knows what he's supposed to do, all that. So could MJ Stewart hold it down? The answer was yes. That was the answer, that MJ Stewart could hold it down. Then we started kind of going down the roster, and we started like throwing out names and saying, well, could he hold it down? Could he perform at a decent level? I know we're just messing around, Huva. And we got to Davis Mills. Could Davis Mills hold it down for a few weeks? And obviously the Texans wouldn't ask Davis Mills to do the same thing that they would with CJ Stroud. But could Davis Mills hold it down for a few weeks? I think he could. With this defense, I think this defense is going to keep them in a lot of games, regardless of offensive performance, to where you have a chance to win late. So I would say Davis Mills could probably hold it down for a few weeks. Could Jalen Smith hold it down for a few weeks? I like what I see. I think that if one of the starting corners, I'll knock on wood, but if one of the starting corners got hurt, I think that would be the guy that would be out there. But I think it would be a challenge. I think he would definitely be someone that the opposing team would try to pick on, because opposite to him would be either Lassiter or Derek Stingley. But I think it's early. It's too early to say, but I think the kid can hold his own. Then we got to the offensive line. Could Ariante Ursary hold it down at left tackle as long as he needs to? Some people believe Ariante Ursary is already better than Cam Robinson. So I don't think it's the craziest thing to think. I don't know what it's going to look like. Hopefully they don't put him on an island and there's like a little bit of help. And that's going to be on Nick Caley. But I think Ursary could hold it down. Could Blake Fischer hold it down at right tackle? I think the answer to that question right now is no. And as they're looking at these decisions they got to make, I'm not saying there's too much better behind him, but I don't like, if you're talking about a guy that's one play away, I think the perfect way to evaluate a backup is this test. Do you think he could hold it down for a few weeks? Like we know that we've even seen guys like Neville Hewitt and Hansen hold it down. They're not perfect house sitters. I know Neville Hewitt's not on the team anymore. Now you got EJ Speed. You've gotten even better at the reserve linebacker. I mean, they're not, but they're not like perfect house sitters. It's not awesome. They're not doing laundry. They're not doing dishes, but the house is functioning. It doesn't burn down. Clean up a little bit after themselves. But the Blake Fischer thing is really like that. That's really the one where it was just like, oh, hell no. Like a unanimous hell no. Like, could Juice Scruggs hold it down on one of the interior offensive line positions for a game or two? I think he could. He really has gotten a lot better since the pads came on. I mean, would it be pretty? Would there be some? I mean, there were definitely, you're not going to leave the game wanting to order a customized Juice Scruggs jersey, but I think he could hold it down. I think he could at least not blow the game up. Blake Fischer at this point is a guy who, if you rely on him to start in a game that counts, then you are risking a guy completely blowing the game up. I would love to see Blake Fischer flip the switch. It just doesn't look like it's the case. And I know he's on goal line. I know he's your backup right tackle. But it almost feels like at this point, based on what we've seen and based on what we've seen in the past with the offensive linemen, that you're keeping the guy on the roster, but you're doing every damn thing you can to keep him off the field. And my question is, like, what's the point if it gets to that? Like, if you don't feel that much better about Blake Fischer than Austin Deculus right now, then that's kind of scary. That's kind of scary. Now, fortunately, like, no injuries aside, you don't have to worry about it. But right now, you have him a play away. You have Blake Fischer a play away. And meanwhile, Ariante Ursary, we're arguing or discussing, debating whether he's the best left tackle on the team. And we already know he's top 2 right tackle on the team. So that's really the test you do with backups. Could he hold it down? And really right now with all the backups, this is a pretty deep roster, but the one place that you just wonder is right tackle. Now, Blake Fisher's kind of your third stringer, though, depending on what happens with Cam Robinson. So, again, that goes back to you're keeping him on the roster, but you're doing whatever the hell you can to not put him on the field. I'm intrigued to see what he looks like. I would throw him to the Wolves tomorrow. See what it looks like. It's been a rough camp for him. Really has. Been a really rough camp. For good old Blake Fischer. So tomorrow's practice is actually going to be early. It's going to be a 9 a.m.er. So 9 a.m., fans will be there. I think Cal McNair's cooking burgers, if I'm not mistaken. Are they still doing that? I think they still do that bit. Cal cooks hot dogs and burgers or whatever. Flips them around for the peeps. But this is as good as it gets for training camp. It's a big one for the Texans. This is a big week because I think camp kind of slows down a little bit after Saturday. It's going to slow down, and they're probably going to hold some guys out based on depending on what happens tomorrow. I don't think Derek Barnett's going to be ready to partake in this. Fatukasi, who knows? Maybe. I would bet against Cam Robinson strongly. And then Pierce, Harris, we definitely want to see. And then we'll see the usual. If Trent Brown, whatever your name is, 1, 2, 3. He says if Trent Brown comes back and healthy, he'll be RT2. That's a massive if, man. That's a massive if. And I don't know. I mean, I think, yeah, if we're talking about Fischer, maybe, but I mean, that was a big injury. And he's walking around a little bit, but it's a big ass injury. He was supposed to be cleared for football activities at the start of camp. I don't know what football activities are. I mean, I'm just going to stop even like putting these injury reports out at some point because they're just so crazy. But I don't know what, maybe there's a definition of football activities. Usually when someone's cleared for football activities, like I look up and I see him on the side, like doing some football activities. Like, I don't even know if what Cam Robinson's doing today would be considered football activities. He was kind of working out on the side, like simulating what they were doing, but it wasn't like anything intense. And he wasn't doing it he wasn't performing the drills with a person in front of him. So yeah, Trent Brown, I guess, I don't know. It just feels like a big thing. Trey says football activity standing up. I mean, based on that one, it might as well be. I mean, based on that one, it might as well be clear for football activities. All of a sudden, people are sitting there like, "Oh, Trent Brown's gonna be ready for camp." Oh no, he's walking around. But the Mixon thing, I am starting to wonder about this Mixon thing. And the moment where I kind of had my eye opener was, and this is stupid, I get it, but we all play fantasy football. I was at my fantasy draft. I was looking at the running back rankings. And I found myself just not being able to draft Joe Mixon. I found myself just not being able to do it. I don't have any inside info on what's going on with Joe Mixon. They're very good at keeping it secret. I haven't seen Joe Mixon, but the ESPN rankings had him at like 22, running back 22. And we know that when Joe Mixon plays, he's not running back 22. So it got me wondering, like, does ESPN know something? Because a lot of times what these guys will do, like the Adam Schefters and the Ian Rappaports, is if they know the full extent, sometimes they'll report it. Sometimes they'll just let it play out. And it's almost like they're doing the agent a favor, and there's like a little bit of trust on that. I'm just starting to wonder, is he going to be ready for the season? And if he is ready for the season, what's it going to look like? How's the foot going to hold up? Is he going to know the system? Are there going to be guys to be able to spell him? I started wondering about this Mixon thing. We're 3 weeks away from it. But I didn't really have any desire to draft him on the fantasy squad. I did end up with 3 Texans. Nothing crazy, but I did end up with 3 Texans on my fantasy football roster. Can you guess who? Can you guess who? I'm pleased with them. One of them was the second to last round. One of them was in the second to last round.
Captain Kirk has arrived. I repeat, Captain Kirk has arrived.
I think Christian Kirk is WR2. I think him and CJ already have some chemistry in the slot. I think CJ likes throwing that flag route to him a lot. I think it's a contract year for him. And we also know that Nico Collins misses time. He's missed time every year that he's played football. He plays all 17. It'll be the first time in 5 years. So I like Christian Kirk, especially that late, second to last round. I took Christian Kirk. We don't draft defensive players. That's for other leagues. I got the defense in Kaimi Fairbairn. Wasn't anything big. Multiple people. The bye week stuff I think is overrated. I don't think you build your team for the buys, but yeah, I got the defense and I got the kicker. Defense is actually number 1 on ESPN. ESPN recognizing game when it comes to them. CJ Stroud did not get drafted in our league. So I got the defense Fairbairn and I got Christian Kirk late. I don't think that was too bad. Christian Kirk could be like the first guy I release. But I think Kirk has been very, very solid. I think when the real games happen, I think CJ is going to trust him a lot. I also think there's going to be some quick stuff to him. The rookies, I don't want to say they've looked bad. It's been up, down, up, down. I think they're going to be. I think we need to watch Higgins in the red zone, especially when him and Nico are on the field at the same time in the red zone. I think that's a scary thought for a lot of defenses. I think we could see him running some slants, fades, drags, all that. But I think where Higgins is going to be scary is there. I think eventually Noel could turn into the face of this class once he figures it out. He's got some work to do, but once he figures it out, I think Noel will be very good. Very, very good. And my guy tomorrow that I think is going to steal the show is Woody Marks. I think Woody Marks is gonna steal the show. I think they're going to get him going. I could see them. I think the Texans we'll probably see more quick game from Nick Caley tomorrow. He's got Nick. But the problem is that it's an open practice and there's a lot of video. So I know D'Amico hates that. I don't know if he'll admit it, but I don't think he loves that the whole practice can get recorded. They need to adapt the policy probably of Minnesota or whatever. And the media policy still stays when the fans are in the stands recording. It's kind of funny. But I think they need to I don't know if that's going to stop them or not, but I could see some quick game going on for sure. I want to see what Bryce Young looks like, obviously. Gonna be a hell of I don't think he's seen a defense like this. He's got two of his former teammates on the other side too, and Henry To'o, Will Anderson, and Christian Harris. He's got a few. Yeah, he's got a few of his teammates right there. And Will and Henry. Yeah, that's gonna be a that's gonna be a not a fun time for Bryce. These guys really want to get him. Not going to be able to touch the quarterbacks. Special teams, maybe we'll get. I don't know if Damen Pierce is still going to be considered a kick return guy. They put him KR1 on the first depth chart. Really haven't seen him return any kicks. We've seen him just playing running back. And it does seem like Nick Caley likes Damen Pierce. And here is what he had to say about Damen Pierce. Stutz actually asked the question. You tell me. Does this sound like someone who thinks Damen Pierce is part of his plans?
Finally got Damen Pierce on the field. What's the expectation for him after the time that he did miss another mental reps, but hadn't been on the field? What's the expectation?
Yeah, the expectation is just to be the best version of himself. He's a physical, violent runner on contact. I've had an appreciation for him since he came out of college. So, not to press, not to do anything outside of just being the best that you can be, taking care of the football, pressing your tracks, knowing who you have in blitz pickup, and starting from there. Because, he's shown what he can do when he gets opportunities to go out there and compete. So I'm excited to get him back out there.
Okay. And he said he's liked him for a while and whatever. I think in this system, Damen Pierce might have some sort of crack at it. And I just want to be able to watch in a competitive situation. This is probably perhaps the only opportunity we get. Because I don't know how much they're going to really be using Nick Chubb by the time they have the joint practices against Detroit, or who they're going to rest or whatever. But this will be tomorrow. This will be probably if Pierce goes and he went in team drills against his own guys. I would think that he's good to go, but you never know. Got to do it sometime, right? But I want to see what it looks like when Damen Pierce is going one play and then Nick Chubb is going the next against a different opponent. I want to see what that looks like. Those two are going at it. They're competing. Now, if Joe Mixon starts the season out, then you can make a case that both those guys will be on the roster. Both might be anyways, depending on what they want to do. But I want to see what exactly Damen Pierce is going to look like. And as far as the offensive line, I said that we assume that decision has been made. Cody asked Nick Caley about that as well. Here's another useful quote from Nick.
How close is this offense to setting who they want as the offensive line?
Yeah, I think we're working towards that every day. I think it's a good problem to have in the sense that it's a highly competitive group, and they've shown progress across the board. So Cole and Zach have done an outstanding job with those guys. The players have worked their asses off, and I think that it's a testament to them. So we're going to continue to see who the 5 most consistent guys are, and when we see a clear separation in that, we'll make a decision on that at the appropriate time.
Yeah, the clear separation, I just don't know. I think there have been some clear separations. Maybe there's not. I think there's a clear separation between Jake Andrews and Jared Patterson, although you still see Patterson get some first-team reps. There's clear separation between Ariante Ursary and Blake Fischer. There's clear separation between Titus Howard and Blake Fischer. I wonder how they look at, though. Like, if you're just talking about the best 5, like, which combo would they rather have? Which 2-piece combo would they rather have? And we all know that we all have different 2-piece combos. Some of us like the breast and leg, the breast and thigh. Some just, if you can give me 2 breasts, give me the 2 breasts. You go 2 legs, you're just leaving a lot of plays on the table. But the two-piece combo at offensive line and tackle, I do wonder which one they like more. Do they like Cam Robinson on the left and Ariante Ursary on the right? Or do they like Ariante Ursary on the left and Titus Howard on the right? Wouldn't it be hilarious if with a fully healthy offensive line, they decide to go with Titus Howard at right tackle? What does that speak to? I think it could speak to a number of things. I don't want to completely blame Blake Fischer for everything, but I think it speaks to, you can say it speaks to Titus Howard being ready to go. Maybe he's in better shape and more focused this offseason or this camp. It can speak to the fact that they can't trust Blake Fischer. I think you can speak to that. But that would be a wild one. If they just decided with health that Titus Howard is the starting right tackle. And I don't think it's too crazy of a possibility, to be honest with you. I don't think it's crazy. And here's the reason. We know that Ariante Ursary is more comfortable on the left side. He said it. I asked him. I said, which one do you feel better at? He said, I'm a more natural left tackle. They know that. That's what he played in college. That's what he's been playing in the NFL, and he's done a decent job at it. Cam Robinson's not a long-term solution. He's not some sort of world beater. So if it's close, and we had this discussion in the offseason, this was a discussion. Might be refreshing it right now. But if it's close, then do you go with the guy that's going to be your long-term left tackle and just have Cam Robinson as an expensive backup? It really doesn't matter. Like, the money is the money. So just because you paid whatever for Cam Robinson for 1 year doesn't mean that, well, we got to play him instead. You make a case, though, that the better combo is Ursary, and I think the fall off from Ingram to Titus Howard might come into play as well. So it's not just about the two-piece combo. The three-piece combo. We could be talking about a three-piece combo. Because do they think that Ingram at right guard is a significant fall off from Titus Howard when he's not at right guard? There's a lot they got to think about. Nick Caley's got his hands full. He's got to figure it out. I think there's two options, like two starting O-lines. But maybe Titus as a guard will come into play because you're talking about Ingram. But it just has been crazy because I think if Blake Fischer were performing to even an average level, I don't know if we'd be having this discussion. And that's why you got to hope that Cam Robinson's healthy, because Blake Fisher's your third string right tackle. On the depth chart, it's going to say second string. But they're not factoring in, and maybe they'll put on the depth chart Titus Howard backup RT, but they showed you. When Blake Fischer went down at the Greenbrier, we looked up and we said, holy, Titus Howard's at right tackle. That would be crazy. That would be absolutely crazy. Ty on the chat says, I would like Titus at guard because pressure coming from the inside will affect CJ more than pressure from the tackles. It's easier for Caley to scheme around a tackle rather than a guard. Yeah, I think you can scheme around both, but are you sure that Titus is like a really, really good guard? Like, you're talking about Titus like it's just like he's Trent Williams. I don't know how great of a guard Titus Howard is. I think he is better than Ingram, though. But I think they probably value the tackle pressure a little bit more. I think CJ's been feeling it out pretty well, too. I do think if anything, the defense has given CJ a pretty good lesson on how to handle pressure. He's feeling it out a little bit. Blake Fischer at guard. I don't see what I mean. I don't know. I think you got to be a little bit nastier than that for him. I think you got to be a little bit nasty. Ty says he's been the best guard during camp. I don't know. Tomlinson maybe. Tomlinson's up there. They haven't messed with Tomlinson. Yeah, I don't know about Clearly. He's better than Ingram, but what about Tomlinson? The depth at offensive line, it's better. The crazy thing is it's better than last year, but it's still not good. Better than last year, still not good. Let's get pumped for preseason. Here's Frank Ross. He's going to set the scene, let you know what you need to look out for. Here's special teams coach.
I'll just start with I think something Nick, Coach Caley just talked about was you guys had been asking a couple of questions about whether it was the communication piece or whatever, and he just said something that kind of sparked. It was like, I have full faith in everybody in the staff to get the communication, no matter what it looks like, and it's ever evolving, and they're sorting through. Like, to me, I think that is the gist of the preseason. Like, I am very happy taking it to special teams. I'm very happy with whether it was Minnesota or practice this week, yesterday, today, or the joint for tomorrow. We've established some things that matter. We've got some really good communication pieces. We've got some really good physicality. Is it in full form? Is our execution, call it mid-season, end-of-season form, where you want to really start, answering every single bell that comes your way? Probably not there yet. Nobody is across the league, but the positivity on it and where we're at as a special teams unit, I think that's been something that's really excited me, especially with working with new players, new guys for this year that are going to be in key roles for us. Really excited with the kind of the build that we've got to this point. Some things that we've started to stack days on that are really in our bag where we're saying, like, yeah, that's definitely going to be a piece or a cornerstone of us for the kicking game. And then we still need to turn up the execution and those things, but we're not quite there yet. I'm excited to get there, but just that's resonated with me amongst the staff, amongst the players, the coach of the players, and what the final product looks like week one. So just excited with where we're at. Love the physical piece, and if there's a few, I'll take some questions.
All right, there you go. And that's Frank Ross. That's typical. Nick Caley does seem a little bit more comfortable going back to him at the podium. It does feel like he has like a better grasp of his squad and what he wants and all that. He's going a little bit more in depth, like when you talk about specifics. So he seems excited. Will he be excited tomorrow, though? That's something to keep an eye on. We're going to have a hell of a lot to react to. We'll react on SNL. We'll react here, and then we'll head into an actual game week. It's a big next few days, probably the biggest ones of camp. Appreciate y'all for rolling through. Reminder to like the video, subscribe, all that type of stuff. We appreciate you for coming through. Always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Early morning, baby. Let's go. Going to be fun. If you're out there, come by, say hi. It's going to be a fun time. Best day at camp. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the Locker Room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey. Locker Room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize, every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time.